Hello everybody and welcome to my little tutorial about Space Day. Space Day is about science and technology and how we can advance this technology and get people interested in science. So what we are going to do for Space Day is we are going to create a solar panel. So solar panel converts sun energy into DC power and it gets inverted so we can use it as AC power. So what we're gonna do is we'll create a solar panel and model it in 3ds Max. You can do it in any modeling program. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible so you can actually do it in most programs probably. So we will have the solar panel and we will have not 2 boxes but 1 box that will do all the converting and will act as a storage unit. So if you build the solar panel, it will work independently without anything else. You will have sun power in the day and at night it will turn off, so you won't have any power. But we will add a little box which functions as battery, so you basically get power in the day, which will charge the battery as well as provide power. And once it gets dark, the solar panel will no longer work, but the battery kicks in and the battery will provide the power. So let's hope that works. And here we have the model, how it will approximately look. So just simple, as I said, it's just a simple solar panel which is able to, let me try to see if I grouped it correctly. Well, no, I didn't. It basically, once it's done, it can move freely. Well, now it's not positions correctly, but it can rotate and follow the sun. Okay. So this is basically what we are trying to aim for. Not something fancy, not too much detail, but enough to be fun. Okay, so sorry for that. The first part would be creating the model in low polygon. So we will start with that right now. Okay, let's go. So let's start with the bottom base. We are going to use a cylinder for this. So I'm not going to explain all the shortcuts I use. You can watch my first tutorial. I'll explain some of them, but most are just I will use so often that it's too much time. So we're gonna just leave it as a base here. Create the cylinder and try to match it about the same. You don't have to have it exact. It just has to be approximately the size. So press F4 for edge view. Height segments, we want 1, and sides is a matter of opinion. We are going to do this one a little bit higher, just so it looks more detailed. Let's do 24. We are right clicking on X, Y, and Z, so it's right in the middle. Okay, now we're going to right click, convert this to editable poly. So we have the base and we still need the middle part. We go here into inset, press this button here. Do, I don't know, is it much? Yeah, let's say about 30 maybe. And just do an extrude. Nothing more. That's all we do for the base. You can do that in almost any modeling program. Should be simple enough. Okay. So that's the base done. We want this as separate object. So in the end we can have all of this rotate like this. Not sure if we're going to make it rotate later, but it's possible at least. Okay, let's go. Mm. So instead of just doing another cylinder, we can just select this face here. Go to faces, polygon here. Select this. Shift, hold, and drag this up. And clone to object. And we'll name it pole for now. Now we're going to deselect the polygon mode. Select the pole here. And let's go into hierarchy. Activate pivot only and center to object. And deactivate again. Go back into this mode here. Now we're going to select all of the verts and press R for scaling. You can just go up here to go scale. Scale it down a bit and deselect. Go into border mode. Select this border. Press W for move or go here. And now hold shift and go down. This will create basically faces along the extrusion. So we're going to stick it in this this face here. But it's still another object, so you can still move it independently from the other one. And it's got a hole in here, but that's not a problem because we will never see it. And you will save some UV space. Okay, so that looks fine. So we still need it to go a little bit higher. So you just select the verts again and just drag it up. Fairly simple. It's a bit larger than we intended. We might scale it down, but it should be good. Alright, so now we need to create the top part, and you can design it any way you want as long as it is kind of flat at least. So what we're going to do is just simply we'll just connect these ones here. So you go select it, control select the one on the opposite side, go here and press connect. So now we have a simple edge here, and we can go into extrude. And we're going to extrude it, I don't know, yeah, about 75. And then we'll maybe do a bevel. We'll do a bevel about 5 and about minus 2.5. Doesn't have to be exact, it's just the way it will look. So it's, well, we can see we still have a bevel here, so we'll maybe we will change that a little bit too. So go into this edge. Well, we can't select the loop, so let's select all these edges manually with control click and left click to select them. And alt click if you want to deselect anything. So select every edge here, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll try to do a chamfer. It will look a bit weird maybe. Well, it looks quite nice. Okay, so we'll leave it at this. Looks good enough. Okay, looks good. Okay, so we've got the main pole thingy basically ready. So next we are going to probably do the main pole here, which holds the solar panels. So yeah. So to create the cylinder for the main part, let's go into create up here. Go into cylinder and let's press Alt W to switch the views. We want to go into the left view and drag the cylinder. And remember, you're only dragging the radius, so you still have to do the height. So when you let go, just drag a little bit, and you can see on the top view it moves still. And then you left click and it's created. So we're going to go to the perspective view again with Alt W. And here's the cylinder. We're just going to move it out for now. And let's right click on the Y position. So now we have it straight in the middle. So yeah, what we are going to do is we are going to go into the modify panel and adjust the height and drag it into the middle, or just right click on the X. Well, that doesn't work. Okay, so let's go just convert this to editable poly for now. So we converted this to editable poly. Go into the hierarchy key, activate pivot only, and then center to object, and then deselect it again. Go into the modify panel again, and now we can right click the X. So now it's straight in the middle. That's where we want it to be. So what we did here is we just rounded it and went straight to the pole. So let's do that with this one. We will go into the vertex mode first, select all the verts and scale it on this end a bit so it's not too large. So now we're going to select both of these polygons with first selected, we're in polygon mode, select this face and control left click to select this one. We then going to do a bevel and always press the settings button so we can manually adjust it. And yeah, just adjust it to your liking. You're going to do a quite strong bevel here. Let's do -4.5 and 7. You don't have to be exact, as I said. It's just right. Then we are going to go to extrude and settings and just extrude them. We probably have to adjust it anyway later, so do select them again. Sorry, I clicked. Okay, 120. So we will probably just leave it straight at the edge. It might be a bit big to pull the way I did it now, but that's fine. We can change it later anyway. We might change it now a bit. So just select all verts, go into scale and the Z and Y axis and just scale it a bit. Fine. That looks better. Okay. We might have to adjust the length. We will see. So this would be the base of the pole, and what we need now are the panels. So for the panel we need a box, so we go into create panel and just drag it out here and the height. So we're going to do try 200 with 100 maybe, and height should be about 8 maybe. Right, now check this for the size, and we might have to change it. Yeah, it's a bit. We'll just move it so we can look at it. So we're going to adjust the width to 120 maybe. 120 seems perfect actually. This fits quite nice. Okay. 120, then we might do the length 200. 250 seems a bit much. 230. Let's just rotate it 90 degrees. If your rotation is not snapped, then here's the angle snap. This will make it snap to every 5 degrees. Sorry if you didn't see that. Okay, yeah, I think this should do quite nicely. So we're going to Control Z to undo everything except the length. Okay. So this is going to be our solar panel. So now we're going to go into isolate mode, so we have it alone. This would be Alt Q, hold Alt and press Q, then you're in isolation mode. It looks like everything's deleted, but if you right click and isolate, then you're out of it. You can also right click and isolate selection, it's the same thing. So what we're going to do now is make it to a little inserted box. So convert to editable poly and select the edge mode. We want to select these edges here and do a connect. 2 segments. So connect and press the settings button. 2 segments here and do 95 about. And we want to select these edges here as well. Connect and manually adjust to about 90. 90 looks fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we could have done an inset like this. Inset here. But what I don't like about insets is that it makes an edge here instead of 2 edges. And yes, you could just fix it manually, but it's just easier in my opinion to do it this way. And because this is important is because later we are going to turbo smooth it to create a high poly, and the edges would create problems which we would have to fix. So now we don't have to fix it, which is easier in the long run. Alright, so let's now go to extrude, and instead of extruding out, we're extruding in. And it should not be so high, so you can see. Let's do 5. 5 should be good. So now we have basically the framework here and the panel on top. So we could also create an edge here so it actually looks like there is a panel, but we will make that with the texture later. It will look good enough with normals and texture. So this is perfectly fine for the panel. So let's go right click and isolate. So this is perfectly fine for the panel, so let's move it into position. We'll just put it on top for now, we can rotate it later. Try to, well, just right click on the Y so it's actually in the center here. Alt W again for perspective changing. We'll go here and then just drag it up until it's perfectly on top, which it isn't because I put it on top of the outer side, but now it's on top, perfectly on top. So okay, so we need of course 2 of those, so we will not copy it now, we'll copy it later. So next thing we're going to do is the shells, so it's actually hold in place and looks better. So for them, we basically just copy the part of the cylinder here, extrude it a bit, and then we'll place it. So we'll do that now. Right, so let's see. I'm just thinking about how I'm going to do it best. Let me just select this face here. We could just connect here and then later delete it, which might be even better idea. Let's just so we go into the isolation mode for the I don't know what to call a pole thingy. So right click isolate or Alt Q. Then we go into edge mode, select all of the edges here, every edge here, do a connect and slide it to the end. So we're going to do about 93. We will in the end just move it manually anyway, so that's fine. So now we're going to select all of the faces here. So go into face mode, polygon mode, and select all of the faces. So now we're going to just shift drag the faces to the left and clone the object, and just call this, well, I don't know, call it clamp or whatever. So now we can remove this edge. So just select one edge here, or if you have it already selected like I did, just ignore this. And if you select this edge, go into a loop, which will loop around and select every edge here. And now you control backspace. If you only press backspace, the problem is that you did not delete the vertices, so they're still here. But if you control backspace, it will also delete the verts, so that's why control backspace. So okay, select this shell clamp thingy we did, and we will end isolate so that we can see a bit. So of course the clamp has to stop at the top, so let's just select the top for no 6 and another one. I'll select these and delete them. So now we need to of course make it go to the side. We can actually we'll delete all of them so it's actually straight. That's much more like it. Right, so what we're going to do now is go into edge mode here and edge mode here, and we're going to shift drag up so we have a straight one here. So now let's actually put a shell on it. So go into the modifier panel here and look for shell. So this will create a shell, and we want outer amount, that's fine. And we want it to be about 1.5, I guess. Should be good. Fine. Convert to L1 poly. Now we want to select both of these sides we just created and extrude them. And we're going to extrude them about 4, I guess. Should be good. And that's almost about it. So we're going to in this case we're just going to leave the faces here. Normally I would probably delete them, but for this small part should not be a problem. So activate pivot and center to object, and now we can slide it back, and we can see it's basically too small, which is not that big of a deal because we just go into the modified tab, go into vertices, and select all of the top parts here. Be sure to have the correct one selected, and just move it up, and now it just gets stretched until it's just inside. We can also, which we will, so it now looks a bit weird on this side, so let's just select edge mode here, select all of these, and do a connect. We only need one, that's fine, right in the middle, and just go into scale R. Oh well, that doesn't work, sorry, I mean we have to go into the vertice mode. So if you're in the vertice mode, just select these verts here and then scale, and just scale them out a bit. And we can also do it for the bottom ones here. Control, drag, and then just a teeny tiny bit, not much. That looks good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, as I said. Looks perfect, looks good. Alright, so don't be worried about why we see all the edges, we will fix that later, that's totally normal. So just move it so it fits. So we're going to use this as the base basically, so we're going to shift drag, which will make a copy. Shift drag it and then just copy clamp 101. So now let's select all of this and press the M key. The M key is for materials, and we will put the gray one on here. You won't have this one, but that's not a problem. Right, so put it on here. So this one here, assign material, and give it a black line color. You don't have to do this, but I generally prefer to see black lines and have a gray shader on it. Okay, so those are connected, perfect. So we can now basically group this whole thing for now and call it panel 1 or 2 or whatever, and then shift drag the group, which will make a copy of the group. So we now have 2 panels, and we're basically done with the solar panel. We can now let's just ungroup all of it, and let's select all of the panels and the cylinder here, and we'll group it as solar panels. So now we should be right smack in the middle, maybe not completely. The X, you can right click and then it should be in the middle. Okay, so now we should be able to rotate it, not completely in the middle, as you can see. So we can fix that, that's not a big deal. In the group we will just go into the hierarchy mode, effect pivot only, and now we are going to the align button, and we're going to align it to the cylinder, and we want to align the pivot point. Apply, and then effect pivot only, deselect that, and it should hopefully, well, it's not completely in the middle. Okay, let's just check the pivot point here. So let's align again, effect pivot only. It is aligned, so it was just a bit weird. Just press and press again. So now it should, yeah, it should rotate. Let's check it. It rotates around this axis here. So now the group actually rotates correctly. And yes, this is the basic low poly model. And next we are going to create a box here. Or rather, yes, we will create a box first, and then we are going to create high poly versions of all of it. So see you soon. Okay, so I'm back for the tutorial here, and we were about to create the box. So let's just select everything here, group this to solar array maybe, I don't know, and let me save for a second. So this is basically solar array. We did it a bit bigger, but that's fine. The box should still be about the same size, so let's try to get the box right. So the box will be very, very simple. We don't want to have too much detail because I want everybody to be able to repeat this with almost any modeling program they want to. So yeah, the box is very, very simple. So you just drag a box that is approximately this size, like 50, 77. Let's check. It doesn't have to be exact as always, but I'm going to check. 50, 77. Yeah, 50, 77 is about right. Oops, sorry. So let's just drag it back here. So it's 50, let's do 75, height, oops, 75, and height about 120 or 125. So that's very good. Okay. So this is basically the battery box, which we will just make as a little small metal cupboard. So we will do it very simple, as I said. So we're just going to convert this to editable poly, and the only thing we're going to do is select all of these edges here, connect to, and do about, well, let's do it a bit bigger, let's do 80 here. So now we're going to extrude the bottom parts so it looks like it's standing on, let's do 5. 2 legs basically. And now we're going to do another connect here, and we only need one, and we'll slide it to about 82 maybe, and select all of these edges here to connect. Now we need 2, and we want them to be in the middle, so we basically have the handle outlined. Okay, fine. Select this polygon here, do a bevel, and just this will be just a simple handle. It's nothing fancy, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. That's fine. See, it's nothing fancy, it's just simple cupboard thingy. Now we'll just, sorry for that, now we'll just put a gray shader on it and black outline. So that's all there is to the cupboard. We will not do anything more. So the high poly will look a little bit better, but that's just with texture it will look cool. So let's do this. So this is basically the low poly model version. The high poly version we are going to do now. We can delete all of this since it was only for reference. So yeah, we're going to continue to create a high poly version, and then we're going to texture mode. Okay, so let's go into high poly mode. So in order to do that, we need to degroup these, but we can start with the box as well. So let's go to the box, and will we unwrap it first or make high poly versions first? Let's do the unwrapping first, sorry. Because when we have the unwrapping done, then we basically can export. So let's do the unwrapping first. So in order to do the unwrapping, we're going to select the box, press Alt Q, so we are in isolation mode. Now, this is the most boring work ever, so bear with me. So we first always put a UV mapping clear, because 3ds Max automatically unwraps everything all the time and it's annoying, and we always have to clear it first to manually add our unwrapping. So clear and then unwrap UVV. No idea why they do it, by the way. So the way this works is we just basically cut out the parts that we want to stretch and flatten out for it to be made to a texture. I have another tutorial which you should watch if you really want to know how to texture, because this is, yeah, it will take a long time to explain. So just go into edge mode, unwrap UVV, and select everything I select here, and then convert to seam. So this is now one separate object, and we have the seams created. So we are going to, how are we going to unfold this one? We probably just make it easy, just disconnect the whole leg and this whole leg. So we're going to control and left click, so we have all of the legs selected, and then convert to seam. This way they are disconnected, and we can now select the control click and select these edges and go here and do a ring. Now we have all of the corners selected, and we will convert them to seams. And now it's just basically a box left, which is fairly easy. We select all of these edges here, and we're going to do a loop. Now we have to watch out. Well, looks good. Okay, we have a loop, so we have all of the edges now selected. We could, it might be better to do it this way. So let's deselect everything. So let's just cut one of these edges here, just the one, and now we will cut alongside here. We will cut alongside here. Well, not here. Need this to be Jin. Should be fine. And we need to basically cut the entire top half. Dun dun dun. Okay, now convert to seam. Let's try it out. Hopefully I have done it correctly. Just select the face and go into expand polygon selection, and it will just select the the objects we not disconnected. Now we go into pelt, and we will pelt and see if it worked. Yeah, it looks good. Start pelt and then go into relax settings and crank it up the amount and relax. And now we have the box which is folded up. So in order to see if we did it correctly, we are going to press M for material, and I have the material already set here. So you just go into the second slot, go into the map, and go into, you would probably have to go into select bitmap here, select bitmap, and then it goes into your folder views. So once you selected it, I'll provide this texture. You just select this texture here and open it and then apply it, and it will not have the shaded material in viewport selected, so press this one, and the tiling will be 1, which is too big, so we're gonna set it to 10 or 15 or 20 or something like that. So the point is to see if everything is straight. You want it as straight as possible, so we're going to just rotate this object so you can see there's no squishing, no like this. This is stretched, but this is the part we didn't do yet, so that's fine. Alright, so now let's go to these parts here and do the same thing. Pelt map, start pelt, start relax, commit, fine. That's basically all we do. Pelt, start relax, commit, fine, move it, and now do this one, pelt, relax, and fine. So this is now the box completely unwrapped. We're just going to move it somewhere else, and we can scale it down a bit. In the end we will rescale it to match anyway, so that's fine. So it looks good. We've got everything here, so we can close this one and convert to editable poly, and we can end isolate. So this one is done, and we're going to do this with every single piece we have. Shouldn't be too long, so let's get to it. We always hide the ones we already did, so hide selection, and let's ungroup this part here and ungroup this too, so we can now only have the panel, which we will call solar panel 1. We'll rename it later, so we can, that's fine. So this is an easy unwrap. We still need an UV map clear, and just add another unwrap UVV. So it's basically the same as before, it's just like a box, but we can try a different method here, which is just select this face here and grow selection here, and let's just disregard all the cutting for now and just select the bottom part here. Okay, so we've got all the bottom parts, and now we're going to open the UV editor here, and we're just going to right click and break, which will basically cut this part off from the other part. And now we're going to just tools, relax, and let's see, and it should work. It relaxes it, and we're going to disable angle snap so we can straighten it out and just enable it again. So it will be a bit stretched because we didn't cut it. It's only the bottom part, remember. So it will be a bit stretched here, but I think in this case we can disregard it because it won't be as visible. So Let's do it this way, it will make things easier and it will have less seams. So let's just, you can also just cut it if you like to, but I will go with this way. Here in this case I'll probably cut these edges here. Convert to seam. And now we can tools relax. We don't need to pelt it because it's already quite flat. So it should actually, let's try pelt anyway, and then relax. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So this way now, because we have cut it, it will be more straight. We could do it with the other one as well. It just would be here. Well, let's just do it while we're at it. You don't have to do it, as I said, it's just a very, very minor stretch, so, but in the end, it's up to you. So, now we selected all of them, hopefully, yes. Convert to seam, and then just select this object, and pelt, and relax. Same thing as before. So now we have this object. It's still a little bit stretched, it seems, because it actually shouldn't be. Ah yeah, well, it still has the edges here, and we will not cut them, so it still is a little bit stretched, but that's fine. Totally fine like it is. Okay, so we'll just leave it like it is. And we will not convert to editable poly in this case, because we have two of them. And we can just go right click and isolate. And in order to just copy it to the other one, we just drag this unwrap UVV on top of this one and apply the same shader here. So now you can see it's now the same. Right? So there you have it. Both of those two are now done. Now we are going to now convert them to editable poly and then hide selection. So those are done. We will continue with the rest. So next thing we are going to unwrap is, let's do the main pole cylinder type thingy. I don't know what you call it. Let's call it pole rotator. I don't know. Pole rotator. It doesn't matter what you call them anyway. So let's Alt Q again to isolation mode. And as before, UV mapping clear, convert to editable poly, and then add an unwrap UVV. And what we're going to do is select both of the faces here and control left click the edge mode. Now we have the edges selected, and we are going to convert them to seams. Then we are going to go and select one edge loop here, doesn't really matter which one, and just cut that one and convert to seam. So now we're already done with this one. We're going to select everything here, pelt it, and relax it. This can look a bit weird, so just go into the settings and commit. It's because it has so many curves here. Sorry. Ah, that's fine. We will rotate it later. So now go into these here. We'll just continue pelt and relax because we're used to it. You could just relax or just move it because it's already the right size and position and whatever. But I'm just used to it. Okay, move it out of the way and we can check, but it should be fine. You always have some stretching, like here, but that's fine. That's you won't notice it later. Alright, convert to editable poly and isolate, and this one is done. So hide selection. So let's do the clamps now, which should be quite easy. We only need to do one because we copied them. So Alt Q on one. And let's see how we're going to do them. Yes, okay, so just think of it like a present you want to perfectly straighten out, the wrapper of the present. And that's what we basically do. Convert to editable poly. So we're going to cut it so it's perfectly flat, as perfect as it can be. And try not to cut it much because cutting means seams, and seams are always not so good. So we're going to loop this edge, select this edge and loop it as well. So now we basically told it to cut this entire thing. We'll probably, yeah, just cut it right out. Convert to scene. And now we're going to both sides here and loop these, and let's see, we can just remove this one and remove this one. Now we have this seam, and now we still need the edge here. We need the edge here, and that should actually do it if we do it on the other side. Okay, convert to seam. That should do it. So we have 3 parts in this one. So pelt. This one is easy, this is just straight, relax. So now we have the second part, which will also be quite flat. And this one will be 1 part, hopefully, perfectly 1 part. So let's see if we have any stretching. You can see the size difference, but that's not a problem. You can go into rescale elements here, and then it's object mode here. And then it's rescaled at the same size. We're going to scale it down so we can see better. Not too much. That's fine. Oh, it looks fine. Looks very good. Okay. So again, since we want to copy it, we don't convert to editable poly right now. So we're going to end isolate, and we're going to drag the unwrap UVB on the others, and we can also apply the texture. I'm just pressing M and then applying the texture, which is just so I actually know that I finished unwrapping it. So now we can select everything here, with Control left click and convert to editable poly, and we can hide selection. So now we only have the base here and the other cylinder. So let's do the base while we have it selected. We'll call it base as well. Alt Q again, and this is going to be a very easy one. UV mapping clear, as always. Unwrap UVV. And the reason, by the way, I have left the bottom is so if you place it in arc or somewhere where you could see it from below, that way you can still see it. So that's important. Yeah, so it's very, very simple. We'll just select this face here, Control, left click edge, and we want a seam here. We can probably just do this as 1. So we can probably just leave this as 1 and just do a loop here. And we will have to cut one here and just leave it as 1. And we can, well, we will also put one here. Well, we can't loop on these, so we'll select the face here and Control left click edge, and then we'll put one here. So we will probably, I don't know if we'll try it. Okay, so we'll select this one here, that's the bottom part, and we'll pelt and see how it looks. It looks good on this view, but the texture part it will have stretching, but it looks fine, so we'll just keep it like it is. Same here, pelt, relax. The settings always reset, so if you want to tweak it, you always have to go back and change them. So the top one, pelt, which he doesn't want to do. Pelt, relax, probably didn't select it right. Okay, and the bottom one, pelt, relax, and commit. So that's all of it. We'll rescale it later. So convert to editable poly and isolate, hide selection. And the only thing left is the big pole here. And the big pole should be very simple. Let's see. We first of all, of course, give it the UV mapping clear, and then you unwrap UVV. We could actually try to treat it as a cylinder, which would mean we only need to cut this edge here. But I'd probably rather cut along these lines here and treat your top part as a box. So let's do this. So we basically just detach it, and we can go and put a line here. So now we have the bottom part as cylinder, which is already unwrapped basically, and the top part we will treat as a box. So we're going to cut along these lines here. And we're going to cut off the top part here. So now this is disconnected. We also need to cut here. And this should actually do it. So let's try it out, and let's see how the box pelting works. And Looks fine. So that's the box. Pelted and ready to go. Let's put the texture on it and see. Looks fine. Okay. And the bottom part is just a cylinder which is fairly simple. So let's just rescale it so we can rescale elements. So we have some warping here, but that's totally fine. Okay. So let's put it somewhere here. Convert to editable poly and isolate. And now we don't need hide selection because we only have this one left. And we can do unhide all now. So now we have everything unwrapped and ready to go for the next part. The next part is the high poly variants, and then we're going to export and create the textures. Okay, so now let's go into high poly modeling. So we need high poly for the normal maps, so we actually have some details in the model, and we use it to create the texture. So we have edge wear and everything. So we definitely need the normal map, so we need the high poly version. So let's start by selecting everything and putting the gray shader back on. This makes it easier to see. So we go into the left solar panel. I already renamed it here. And go into Alt-Q isolation mode. And the only thing we need to do is put a chamfer modifier on it. And we can tweak this, and then we're going to put a turbo smooth modifier on it, and that way we have smooth edges. Normally I use the quad chamfer and you would use 2 iterations, but you see you get errors on this part here, so we'll leave it at 1 and just mess with the chamfer so it looks nice and smooth but still sharp edges. And this looks fine, so the settings here look fine. We have some shading problems here, but that's not a problem. That's fine. So this looks quite good. So get out of isolation mode and make sure the chamfer is on well, from stack would mean everything. You can set it to selected edges and then go into edge mode and actually select all of the edges. But that's fine. Okay. So we will use it for the other one as well. So just drag the chamfer and then just drag the turbo smooth on it. And now we also need to go into the edge mode and actually select all of the edges, because we have the chamfer set to selected edges, so that's important. So that would be those two done. So we can hide selection. Those are now high poly versions. So as you can see, the pole rotator thingy has some weird edges here. So those are the smoothing groups. Most of the time auto smooth works fine. Selecting smoothing groups manually is better, but it's hard to explain it, so we will stick with auto smooth, which, as I said, in most cases works fine. The shading is good, so just use auto smooth on this, and then we're going to go to the chamfer. I wanted to do the quad chamfer again. Chamfer, and remember to go to selected edges. We could also do from stack and then from smoothing and unsmoothed edges, and that could, or smooth, no, unsmoothed edges would be right. But since he smoothed this as well, it would not do much, would it? It would only do it here. So let's go to selected edges. That's better. Okay, so let's put a turbo smooth on it. And now we have to, of course, select the edges. So we're going to select this edge, well, this face here, and then the face on the other side, and then control left click, and we have the edges selected. And we also want these edges, these edges, these edges, and these edges, and do a loop. So now we have all these edges selected. And those are the edges we want to have a hard corner, a hard edge, rather. So when we go into chamfer, you will see that the chamfer will only be applied to those selected edges. And smoothing group, we will want to turn it off because we actually want those to be applied here as well. So once we've done that and tweaked it, you can see it looks quite smooth. We want the turbo smooth to have more iterations, so you have this shading problem gone. So 2 iterations is fine. That looks very good. Okay, so this is the setting for this one, and we can hide it. Now here you can see that the smoothing is wrong as well, so let's do the same thing. It probably should be enough to do an auto smooth here as well. Clear all and auto smooth. We can check it. Yeah, it's totally fine. So we can just auto smooth them, and that's fine. Clear all and then auto smooth here. Same goes for this one. Select every face, clear all, auto smooth, and same goes for this one. Select everyone, clear all, auto smooth, and that's it. So now we're going to do a chamfer on this one. And we can try from stack. From stack would mean it just does every edge, and it might be good, it might not. Well, it isn't. As you can see, he also does these, which we do not want. So we're not going to do from stack. Sorry. We're going to do from selected edges. So now we're going to have to select all of the edges. And just select every edge, F4 to show them, where you want to have a hard corner. So just select the top one, the bottom one, this one, all of these. You can also select just one and then do a ring and then a loop. So now we have all of those. We want, of course, the bottom one here. And we want all of those here. So all of these here. And we also want the top ones and the side ones. And we also want the middle one here. So just follow my selection here. That should do it, I hope. Should have every edge selected we want. And then the chamfer will actually do what we want now. So just tweak the chamfer settings here. Check out the turbo smooth, and it looks very, very nice. So now we basically would need to do the same thing on the other ones, but to make our life easier, because we would have to select all the edges again, we're just going to recopy this clamp here. So yeah, we're just going to copy this one with shift drag and place it and copy it, and then we're going to delete this one here. The pivot here is really weird, but we'll fix that later. So just shift drag and copy it, and copy. Delete the one without the modifiers. Same goes for this one. Shift drag. Perfect. And delete one without modifier. So now we have 4 perfect clamps with all of the settings we can now hide. Hide selection. So we only need to do the bottom pole stand, the base and the pole here, and then the battery box, or what you ever want to call it. So here we, on the base, we still need a smooth them. So clear all, auto smooth, check it out. Yeah, looks good, fine enough. Alt Q, now we need to chamfer it. And this will probably work fine with the base settings. Just do, well, it doesn't. I didn't realize he would actually. Okay, so again, we could actually tweak the min angle. So if we tweak the min angle, we will get good results. So let's do this. It's easier to do it that way. Let's tweak it the way you want it, and this looks fine. Okay, so that was an easy one. So we can hide selection now, and we're going to do this one, and we're going to try, of course, to do it the same way to make our lives easier. So try to do a quad chamfer here, and let's see if we can tweak the min angle. It could give us some problems because of the angle on these parts here, but we'll see. So it looks fine. Maybe we will be able to pull it off. Let's try the turbo smooth. Yes, I think we will be able to pull it off. So tweak the chamfer a bit. Has some shading problems here, but that's fine. Otherwise it looks really good. So just check the settings here from stack, min angle, amount, turbo smooth, 2 iterations, and that's fine. Let's check the chamfer actually. Without, yeah, it's totally fine. That's the way I would do it anyway. Okay. I'll turn this back on. Okay, and isolate and hide selection. Now this box will probably be very simple and similar. Just chamfer, reduce the amount, and let's try if we can get it to work. 2 iterations. We will have some shading problems here, but that's also quite fine. And it's already looking good enough. Those small shading problems will not matter. Okay, so that's all you need to do to create some high poly models. So when we unhide all, we can see now it's looking all smooth and fine, and we are basically ready to export for texturing. So we will do that in a second. So let's get ready for export. So to export it, we will basically texture Wait, I forgot something. Before we well, we can export to high poly first. So, wait, let's since we will do the texture even for the battery box in one map. So that's why we are going to export it as one object. So we will group this as solar high. So we know this is the high poly version. And we will export it now. Export selected. And we will export it to our folder here, where we already have some of them, and we'll just do a new folder, tutorial, and we're going to export it as FBX, and we're going to call it solar high. We'll just call it solar high. And smoothing groups on, turbo smooth on. It should be fine. You can deselect turbo smooth, it should do it as well. Turbo smooth will only, well, we'll just turn it off. Should be fine. And here it will say us that it will tessellate it, and that's totally fine. That's what we want. So now we have the high poly exported. So we still need the low poly, and we did not yet sort the UV space out. So what we need to do is basically we want to copy this group, so we still have the high poly, just in case we do something wrong. And we ungroup everything here. And now what we want to do is get rid of all the modifiers which we added. So we don't need them for all of the modifiers on it. So we need to get rid of all of them. Which is a bit tedious work, I know, but it has to be done. Get rid of them. So this bottom one, and hopefully we have everything. Well, we don't have the box yet. Okay, so we basically removed all of the modifiers, which means now we can group this as our solar low. And once we grouped it, we can go into the modifier list and add an unwrap UVV modifier. And now we have all of the unwraps we made in this one group. So when we open the UV editor, we can see every single one of the ones we did. So we could do all of the solar panels, etc. We can put them in one UV space. That way we would save UV space. But in this case, I will not do it to make your life easier. And you can also add details on one solar panel which are different on the other one. So that's where we're going to not put them in the same UV space. We are putting them in separate UV spaces, which is fine. So first we're going to rescale elements. So we have all the same sizes here. Now, let's put the UV texture on it. And next thing we're going to do is we're just going to pack custom, which should work for our purposes good enough. So now it's automatically packed into this space, and the 3ds Max packing system is not good. So it has lots of space here we don't actually use, which is bad. You should use every square inch of space you can, but for this tutorial it's really not that big of a deal. And our object is not too big, so, and doesn't have that much detail, so for this project it's totally fine. Just remember, you can use every use space you can, so you could just move them around, or make the solar panels a bit bigger because you want more detail. Just remember that the textile density changes with scaling as well. I generally try to keep everything the same size. Alright, so those are the solar panels here. Fine. Okay, so that would be it. We can close this, and we can convert this to editable poly. So now we have this solar panel ready for texturing. We will export it later with different groups probably, so we can animate it in the ArcDev kit. But we will do that later. So now we're going to export for texturing. So we're going to export, select it, and just call it solar low. And everything is fine here. Okay, export it. So now we're going to go into Marmoset and start texturing. So I will see you there. Okay, we are here in Substance Painter and are ready for the next part, and that would be the texturing. So bear with me because Substance has changed since I used it last time. All of the interface has changed, so if I tend to not find something, try to understand. It's basically my second time I'm using the new interface now. So let's go into File, New, and we want the document resolution to be 4K. Should be fine. We're going to select the mesh, which would be the solar low we just exported, and leave everything as it is. Here we want to have Unreal Engine 4 algorithmic is fine, and then press OK. So now it should load the model on the left side, and on the right side this is the UV. And we could basically already start painting and just go crazy, but of course Control Z, we don't want to do that like that. So let's first go into texture set settings here and go into bake mesh maps, because we want to have the normal map, and we will output size do 4K, and all the rest settings are fine. We are going to use the high definition mesh, which is the solar high we exported as well. So now we can use we could create the ID by mesh ID polygroup. We'll try. I don't know if that will work, but we'll just try it. Mesh ID polygroup, hue shift, normal settings, there are none. We can leave everything normally as it is. The common parameters should be fine as well. Yeah, and we'll just bake it. So now it will bake it, and you will see some changes in the low poly model here. So you can see the high poly model was applied right here, and it looks like the high poly model, but it isn't. It is the low poly model with the normal map applied. So that way we have the high poly details and the corner details without the high polygon count of the high poly model. So now he's baking the curvature, which we will need for edge wear and that kind of stuff. It's The position map is for gradient details, which we probably won't use in this case. And to be honest, I have no idea why we would need a thickness map. So let's get going. Baking finished. So now you can see when you rotate around that we have the normal map baked on top, which looks very good. So we will start to do the basic texture, which we will have quite basic. So let's just try a smart material first for the base, and the base will be, for example, I like this steel medieval stylized. We go into layers here and we'll just try it out. The smart materials are just materials with already some rust and scratches and that kind of stuff added, and we can still tweak them. So this looks like a good material for the base. We might tweak it a bit, like the wear is maybe a bit much, and we have the metal edge wear generator here, and we can adjust the wear level. Okay, so now we also want to add a mask, and we want to add a mask with color selection, and now we will get the ID. Hopefully the ID mask did work out, and it did. The ID mask did work out very good, and we want to have the base this color, and we also want to have the main part. So we have these two parts now, which are this material. So that's this. Now we want to create the pole, and we want to give it a bit of a different material. So let's just create a new material, and we'll just, let's see, we can try just a steel scratched smart material, see how it looks. And this looks very fine, so we'll probably use this one. I hope anybody can explain to me why, even though I set my Steam on D&D, that I still get messages. Sorry. Okay, so we'll probably use this one. So I'll add a mask with color selection again, and pick the color blue. So now we have this steel material, and it's only masked to this part, and it looks like it doesn't come up top here, but that's because it basically got baked by the other one, which is fine though. We can just add it as well, so that's not a big of a deal, because they, well, we will make them different but kind of the same. So we'll remove the red one. So now we will add a new material, but we'll use a normal material, and we're going to use steel rough, and that will just be for the shells. So the steel rough will be, we'll add a mask. Oops, that was layer, sorry. We'll add a mask with color selection for the steel rough, and we're going to pick all of the shells. So we have some errors here, but shouldn't be much of a problem. So now we have the base plate ready, and we're going to go into the view here and just press 3D only so we can see better. So that looks good. So for the solar panel we want to have a very reflective material as base. So we could try, let's just try platinum. It looks very reflective. We can also change it a bit. We can go into the metallic and the roughness, and we can change the roughness quite a bit. So now it's very, very, very reflective. Well, that we only want for the front part, but we can mask that out, so that's also not a problem. For now, let's just delete this one. Sorry. Platinum. Remove layers. Okay. So now just let's find the material for the frame, which would probably be definitely iron, maybe galvanized, or pure. Let's try raw iron. Not good enough. Raw iron, dull maybe, or damaged. That's more like it. Okay, let's try raw iron damaged. Okay, so raw iron damaged for the frame, and we do that. We basically just add a mask, not layer, sorry. Add a mask with color selection and do the same thing. Just select those two. So now you can see you still have the front part here, which is colored. We want to get rid of that, so let's go into the 3D and 2D view, and we're just going to basically put a layer on top of it and just color it by hand. So what we're going to do is create a new material, and we can use this layer, and we call it solar panel. So what we're going to do is select the material types we want. We want to change the color, we don't want to change the height, we do want to change the roughness and the metalness. We don't want to change the normalness. So the base color, what we want to use is texture, and this would be, I already put it in, I have to find it. Can't remember what I named. Well, I probably didn't put it in because I put it. Okay, let's just import it. So I'll try to find it and then just give me a second. So give me a second to just... Okay, so I found it, and it's basically just a JPEG I will attach to the tutorial. So you just drag it into this window here, and I called it solar JPEG, and we want to change it here to texture, and import it to current session or to shelf, which would mean you have it forever. Current session means it will get deleted when we exit the program. So we just import it and we have it here now, Solar. And so we're back to the material here and selecting base color and just searching for Solar. So now we have the base color of the solar panel, and we can change the roughness, which we want quite high, and metalness. So, but what we're going to do is go into projection mode here, and sorry, now it reset my material because we went into projection mode. So just deselect height again, deselect normal, select base color solar again, and again roughness quite low, metalness high. And now what we're going to do is just press the S key and hold it, and with the stencil key selected you can scale with right click and drag and scale the stencil. We can go into 2D only so we can actually see more of the solar panel we're actually going to create here. So we're going to not make it too big. Try to get it as uniform as possible. Alright, so we also want to go into the alignment here and set it to UV. That way it does not get projected onto other stuff. So we're just going to drag with shift so we're straight, or just drag. Oh, we actually colored it here, which we don't want, so just undo it again. We can also control right click and then drag the size of the brush a bit higher, and we just color it in here. That's all what we're basically doing. Remember not to move too much so the stencil stays the same. We can later just delete the parts we don't want. Now we can left click once and then shift click here to just I'll just right click and put my mouse button up so I have the hardness. So if you control click, right click and then move your mouse, you can set the brush basically. So I want quite hard, and I want the brush alpha to be a square if I can. So let's find a square, so that way I can set this more easily. Okay, now shift left click and then hold. Same goes for here, left click and then shift left click to drag this up here, and now we have loads of space to draw this. So it's not perfect, but it shall do. You can take more time to do this. The basics are always the same. So let's try to get a higher brush so it's just faster. Sorry. Okay, so now I've done that. I go back into paint mode, so now you can see we have painted the stencil on top of it. And we're going to go into 3D only. And now you can see we have actually painted the solar panel on it. So that's nice looking. We might want to change the roughness a bit more, which you can't just change change like that, but we can change the we can change that we don't affect the color, but only the roughness and metalness, and then we can just paint it on and it will change. But it does not change much, does it? Yeah, the roughness is already at a very high level, so it does not change, or it does not look like it changes. So let's see, the metalness is... Let's change the metalness a bit. So you can paint it like this, or you can paint it in the other view, but I'm just going to paint it like this now. So that way we have a little more reflective surface. And we're also going to paint this side, of course. Make it bigger. We might have painted a bit over the edge there, but that's fine. So, looks like a solar panel, doesn't it? Okay. So, I think this is it for the solar panel here. Should look good enough. And now we're going to add the texture for the box. So for the box we're going to use very simple smart material as well. We're going to go into the smart materials, and I like to use the steel painted one, the green one here. I also used it for my locker box, and as you will see, it looks really good on the base of it looks really good on a sort of locker type box metal thingy. We only need to change the color a bit, but it's very non-reflective, but you can see a little reflection in the scratches, so I like that kind of thing. So let's first of all, let's save for now so I don't screw this up, and let's call it tutorial or tut. Now we still need to add, sorry for that, it's saving. I'll be back with you in a sec. Alright, so let's add a mask with color selection here, and of course we only want the red one. So now the solar panel is back, and we still have this colored here. So we will change a few of the things, like the base paint. We don't want it to be green. We want it to be, let's see, base color here. We want it to be more grayish. Maybe. We can do it all color. You can do it all color you want. It's all up to personal preferences, I think. In this case, we'll probably go with it does not look as I want it to. Let's change it completely. Let's not use the painted steel. Let's do... We can still use a smart material. Let's try steel painted clear coat. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, let's use that one. Add mask with color selection, and we'll use the red one again. So I wanted it to look about as same as this one, but a little bit different. So the color is quite nice. We'll probably just leave it like this. And now we can add some text or details, like, for example, let's create some vents. Let's create a new layer, and let's just select the height and the normal, and we'll change the brush size a bit. And what we want to do is the alpha. We want to change the alpha. So I have some vents. I have some vent alphas. But you can use any alpha you want. The vent alphas cost money, so we'll try to... There should be some vents in the alphas from Substance. Just look for some vents. I have no idea if I have the same vents you have right now, so let's just check one. You can just try out which direction. Well, let's just do this one. So you just use the base 11 and then just put 3 of those here, and here you have the height size. You can put 3 of those here. So now you have basically vents here. We also want to have some text, for example. So let's do a new layer, and let's just add some text or any images. Like, you can just import any image you like and add it to the model. We have some cool ones here. Like, let's use the electrical sign, which should be in Substance. So we only want to have the color in this case and the roughness and the metalness. So the base color should not be the solar panel. So it should be, I would say this is a like warning sign, so let's make it yellow. And it's now very reflective, so let's check how it would look if we put this here. So it's very reflective. So we would probably want it to be non-reflective. So we will get rid of the metallic and change the roughness a bit so it's more of a matte color. So let's Control Z again. Let's put it somewhere smaller maybe, and maybe the color bit more into the dark. Oops. And then just, yeah, put it up top here somewhere. So now in a new layer we'll just go and find an alpha for the text, which is this. There you have a font, and there you can write the text. So you can write warning electric current. That's just an example you can use. Now you can right click and adjust the size of the brush so it fits, and we'll change the color to where's the color? There it is, to white. Okay, and we're gonna just put it right here. Warning electric current, and you can add all sorts of stickers to it. I generally like to put my sticker on everywhere, so let's just do that and find my sticker somewhere. I should have it somewhere here. I'm pretty sure. It's probably in textures. There it is. So you can just do the same for material mode or base color, and this would be base color and sticker 1. And now you have the texture, but you still have the stencil. So for the sticker we would probably use the projection mode, and for the projection we would go into the base color, sticker, and then we can just basically with S drag the stencil and find a good position for the stencil. Let's just put my stencil in the back, just for fun. We want to reduce the brush size. So now we basically just painted the stencil on with the metalness, which we shouldn't have done because now the reflectiveness is a bit higher here. But that's fine. So yeah, you can do it every way you want. You can add more details. I don't want to get too much into it to make it too complicated, so we're probably just gonna leave it like it is now. And this is it for the texture part. We're going to export it. Let's go and export textures, and let's go into no padding. I don't like to do padding, and Unreal Engine 4 packed is correct. We're going to put it into contest start tutorial and in this folder, and you have base color, occlusion, normal, emissive, standard. We don't need the emissive, but we need the base color, occlusion, roughness, metallic, and normal. So that's fine. And yes, PNG is fine. Export. And now it exports all the textures. So in the next tutorial we will import or get the model ready for import in the dev kit, but that tutorial will be from Red Dwarf. He will do that part, and we will just get the model ready for export it in 3ds Max, and Red Dwarf will do all the importing and all the functionality. So yeah, see you then. Okay, so we're now going to export the model to import into the ArcDev kit. I've talked with Red Dwarf, who will do the implementing, and we will, this should be not there, talk to Red Dwarf, who will do the importing, and he wants it to be one object. So for simplicity reasons we will probably not do the animating and just using it as one object. So just select everything and group it to solar panel, or you can name it whatever, and then we will set up the material. So we'll just use the first slot and call it solar. Should be fine. Everything else is good. Apply it, and then file, export, export selected with the one selected, and we're going into the folder, which is, well, we will have it here to export it, and well, I'll just leave it here. We can call it solar final. It's fine, and you can leave it as it is. That's also fine. Okay, so we have like the finished model, we have the finished textures, so we'll all place it in one folder here and just call it final. And so it was the solar final, and the texture is these three here. So we have the texture, let's just rename it. And those are the RGB textures. So you have the metalness map, the not gloss, the roughness map, roughness, metalness, and the occlusion. Okay, so that's it. We have this ready, and we'll send it to Red Dwarf to do all the technical stuff. So thanks for watching, and I will include this model if you do not want to model it yourself. I will also include the texture to create the solar texture here. So I will put that in here, and I will also include the checker texture for you to use. Right, so see you then. Thanks for watching.